Hi friends, today we're going to talk about solving percent problems and then also some interest problems. There are several methods to solve percent equations. In algebra, it's easiest if we just translate English sentences into algebraic equations and then solve the equations. It says here, be sure to change the given percent to a decimal before you use it in the equation. I prefer this equation. This automatically turns the percent into a decimal when we divide by 100. So is over of equals percent out of 100. Is over of, if it's a real world type situation, they might give you the portion or the part over the whole. That's the same as is over of. So before I start anything, I'm going to make my proportion here. I know that the bottom of the second fraction is going to be 100. So it says, what number is? That means I do not know the is. So what number is? I don't know the is. 45%, I know the percent goes up here. Of 84, I know the of goes down there. So since we're looking for the is, we'll make that x. Of is 84, and then 45 is a percent. In order to solve this, we multiply across the two numbers that are given. So I'm going to multiply 84 and 45. And then we divide by whatever number is left. In this case, we're dividing by 100. So again, multiply diagonally the two numbers that you know, and then divide by the other number that you know. And if I did that, I would get that x is 37.8. Let's look at another one. Again, I'm going to draw my two fractions. And I know the second fraction has 100 on the bottom. 8.5%. So we know the percent of what amount? So of what? That means we don't know the of. Is 4.76 or $4.76. So 8.5 is the percent of what? Means x is going to be on the bottom of the first fraction. Is $4.76. Again, we're going to multiply the two numbers that are diagonal from each other that we know. So 4.76 times 100, and then divide by the other number. In this case, it's 8.5. And if we did that, we would get that x is 56. Let's look at one more. 168 is what percent of 112? So again, I'll draw my proportion. I know 100 goes here. 168 is. So that goes in the is part. What percent? We don't know the percent, so that's going to be our x of 112. 112 is going to go on the bottom of our first fraction. Again, we're going to multiply diagonally the two numbers that we know. So 168 times 100. And then divide by the third number that we haven't used yet. Divide by 112. And we get an answer of 150%. So that's some basic ones. Let's look at some more real world type situations. We're still going to set up a proportion. A proportion is just two fractions that are equal to each other. So before I do anything else, I'm going to do that. Put the 100 in the bottom of the second fraction. The label on Audrey's yogurt said 1 serving provided 12 grams of protein. So 1 serving. So that's my portion, which is 24% of the recommended daily amount. what is the total recommended daily amount of protein? So I'm looking for the total. So I'll put X on the bottom of my first fraction. They're telling me the portion I know is 12. And they're also telling me that that's 24%. Again, I'm going to multiply diagonally the two numbers that I know. So 12 times 100, and then divide by the third number. 12 times 100 divided by 24 is 50, and we should label this 50 grams. So Audrey needs 50 grams of protein. Before we start, we'll make our two fractions, 100 at the bottom of the second fraction. Veronica is planning to make muffins from a mix. The package says each muffin will be 240 calories. That's 240 total calories, so it goes on the bottom of our first fraction. The portion from fat is 60 calories, so that goes on the top of our first fraction. What percent? That means I don't know the percent, so we'll put an X there. Again, multiply diagonally the two numbers that I know. 60 times 100, and then divide by the third number, divided by 240, and that will end up giving me 25%. So 25% of that brownie's calories came from fat. Mitzi received some gourmet brownies as a gift. The wrapper said each brownie was 480 calories and had 240 calories from fat. What percent of the total calories in each brownie comes from fat? So I know I'm looking for the percent. It says the total amount of calories is 480. The portion from fat is 240. So multiplying across the numbers that I know, we have 240 times 100 divided by 480. And if we put that in our calculator, we would get 50% of the calories are coming from fat. All right, let's look at percent change. So the first thing we want to do is find the amount of change. To do that, you do the new amount minus the original amount. Excuse me. Find what percent the amount of change is of the original amount. I'm not sure why this sentence is here. I feel like it was there twice. I'm not sure why. All right. Recently, the California governor proposed raising community college fees from $36 to $46 a unit. Find the percent change, round to the nearest tenth of a percent. So the first thing we need to do is find the amount of change. So we're going to take our new minus our original. And there's a $10 difference. And then find the percent, the amount of changes of the original amount. The formula we want to use is the change over the original equals percent out of 100. So we said the change was 10. It was changing by $10. The original was $36. We're looking for the percent out of 100. Again, we're going to multiply diagonally the two numbers we know. So 10 times 100 divided by 36. And we will get that it's about 27, because I'm rounding, I'm going to say approximately 27.8% when rounded to the nearest tenth of a percent. In 2001, the IRS increased the deductible mileage to 55.5 cents from 51 cents. So finding the change, we take our new minus our original, and that has a change of 4.5 cents. We do our change divided by our original equals the percent out of 100. In this case, we're looking for the percent, so I called that X. The numbers we know, diagonally, we're going to multiply together. So 4.5 times 100 divided by 51 gives me a change of 8.8%. Again, I'm rounding, so I'll say approximately 8.8%. You also want to know how to find discounts and markups. Discounts, obviously, they subtract something from the original price to get the discounted price. Markup, they're adding a certain percentage to the original price to get the new price. So Liam's Art Gallery bought a painting at an original cost of $750. Liam marked the price up 40%. Find the amount of markup and the list price of the painting. So the amount of markup, we're looking at markup here. It says the markup rate times the original price. So the markup rate is 40%. We want that as a decimal though, so we'll do 40 divided by 100, which is 0.4. So to find the markup rate, you do the percent divided by 100. Same with discount rate, the percent divided by 100. So now we do the discount rate, the markup rate times the original price, 40 times 750, which gives us 300. So that's part A, the markup. So he's going to charge $300 extra. So that means the list price is going to be $750 plus 300, which means he's going to charge $1,050 for this painting. Here's another markup. The auto resale store bought Pablo's Toyota for $8,500, and they marked the price up 35%. So we need to do 35 divided by 100 to figure out our markup rate is 0.35. So we'll take our markup rate times the price, and we get $2,975. So that means the dealership bought it from Pablo for $8,500, but they're going to sell it for, we need to do $8,500 plus $2,975, and they're going to sell it for $11,475. The last few examples here have to deal with interest. Here's our formula. I equals P times R times T. P is called the principal. The principal is really just the original amount. T is time. R is rate. Again, we need to do the percent divided by 100 in order to get the rate. So let's see here. As I'm going to write down I equals P equals R equals T equals. Those are the four things we need. We will find out 3 of the 4 of them, and we need to find the 4th. Areli invested a principal of $950, so that's her original amount, into her bank account that earns simple interest at a rate of 3%. So we need to do 3 divided by 100, and we get 0.03. How much interest did she earn in 5 years? So time is 5. Interest, we don't know yet. So interest equals principal times the rate times the time. And if you put all that into your calculator, you would figure out that the bank gave her an extra $1,425 in interest. Nope, not $1,425, just $425 in interest. We'll put our I, P, R, P. Hank borrowed $7,500 from her parents, so that was the original amount. That's her principal. To pay for her tuition in 5 years, that's time. She paid them $1,500 in interest. In addition to the $7,500 she borrowed, what was the rate? So I do not know the rate. If I put this into my formula, 1,500 equals 7,500 times the rate times 5. Simplifying the right side of the equation, I'll multiply together 7,500 and 5, or 7,500 times 5. So 1,500 equals 37,500 R. We still have the R there. That's what we're solving for. So to finish this off and get R by itself, we'll divide both sides by 37,500. And we would get that our rate is 0.04. But we want that as a percent. To go from a decimal or from a rate to a percent, we multiply by 100, which means she paid an interest rate of 4%. All right, one more. I, P, R, T. Sean's new car loan statement said he would pay $4,866.25 in interest. So 4,866.25 is our interest at a rate of 8.5%. So if we do 8.5 divided by 100, we get 0.085 over 5 years. And we are looking for how much he borrowed. So we're looking for the principal. Plugging this into our equation. $4,866.25 equals P times 0.085 times 5. Everything seems to be 5 years here for some reason. Simplifying the right side by multiplying 0.085 times 5. That gives us 0.425, and we still have the P. And then getting P by itself, we'll divide both sides by 0.425. And we would get that P is $11,450. So he borrowed $11,450, and of that, $4,866 is just toward interest. All right, hopefully that clears some things up. Hope you have a great day.